Welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And we're just a totally wacky couple in love that loves reacting to some Total War Warhammer.
We are totally... Wow. I went for totally wacky, but instead started to say Warhammer.
Worky? Totally worky?
So it came out a hybrid of the two. And I'm going to roll with it. We're totally worky for Warhammer.
We are.
Whatever the heck that means.
It's a Warhammer Wednesday today, people, all right? So we're checking out Total War Warhammer, the Skaven lore. So the origin of the Skaven. We checked out their cutscenes before, and they're nice and terrifying. And we were told that the Book of Choyer, I think, hopefully I'm saying your channel's name correctly, was a good channel to check out for some Total War Warhammer stuff. So checking it out with some Skaven lore.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh!
The Skaven, a race of verminous creatures whose numbers could drown out the horizon line.
Damn.
Their dark influence is spread across the old and the new world alike. But even then, with a race that is so expansive and dominant, gnawing at the roots of the world, there is a disturbing lack of knowledge about the Skaven. Imperial and dwarf scholars know very little about the true origins of these vile creatures. But there are some clues that shed a dim light on their dark story.
All right, I like the style.
Mm-hmm.
It's immersive.
From the jungles and swamps of Lustria to the darkest places of the world's edge mountains, from the blasted hellscapes of the Dark Lands to the vast and endless deserts of Araby, the Skaven roam the world. Only the verdant paradise that is Ulthuan is safe from the grasp of the vermintide. How the Skaven came to be is still a mystery, and despite the magnitude of the threat beneath their feet, the majority of nations do not acknowledge that the children of the Horned Rat exist.
It's just a myth. ROUS's.
Some scholars and academics classify the Skaven as a mutated variant of Beastmen. Both seem to be an evil parody of the human body form, and both twisted into dark reflections of the spirit of man. The Beastmen reflect a dark form of pride and jealousy.
Is it a hand skewer down there?
Mm-hmm.
While the Skaven reflect the nature of treachery in human society. Others suggest the Skaven are mutated forms of common rats, corrupted by foul magic.
That makes more sense.
Skaven history is also a form of mystery to the Skaven themselves. The Ratmen naturally do not live very long, and are not concerned by their own origins. Most Skaven lives are disposable, and they are spent on dangerous experiments, slave labor, and as cannon fodder on the battlefront. In addition,
Happy life.
most Skaven do not know how to read or write. Only those in the highest positions, Greyseers and warlords of the many thrall clans, have the ability to do so. And very few are too concerned with the past and future of their race, only keen on keeping themselves in positions of power, and to an extent, alive. They do not account for great deeds such as victories in battle, or important inventions. Some clans keep records, but they are mostly a barrage of claims and counterclaims, hyperbole and excuses. Perhaps those that are most knowledgeable about the origins of the Skaven are not the Skaven, the Dwarves, or even the men of the Empire. To explore this reality, we must head to the fertile peninsula that is Tilean. The people of Tilean have dealt with the Ratmen for much longer than the Empire of Man. While the Empire tries to cover up the existence of this constant menace, Tilean is far more knowledgeable, aware, and responsible when dealing with the ever-present lurking enemy.
That sounds like a better way to handle it than just deny it.
Yeah.
I guess you don't want to cause panic, though. That's why you deny it. All is well.
The only document available about the first encounter with a Skaven is the tale called the Doom of Kavzar, an ancient Tilean poem with 13 stanzas. Copies of this tale have inexplicably disappeared from the Empire, but the tale is still known in Tilean. The text reads as follows. Once upon a time, long, long ago, men and dwarves lived together beneath the roof of one great city. Some said it was the oldest and greatest city in the world, and had existed before the time of the Longbeards and Manlings. Built by older and wiser hands in the dawn of the world. The city lay both above and below the earth, in keeping with the nature of the populace that dwelt there. The dwarves ruled in their great halls of stone below ground, and wrestled the fruits of the rock free with their day-long toil, while the manlings reaped the fields of swaying corn that surrounded the city with a patchwork blanket of gold. The sun smiled, men laughed, and everyone was happy.
Now we know shit's gonna go down.
Yep, exactly.
One day, the men of the city decided that they should give praise to their gods for their good fortune. They planned a temple such as the world had never seen before. In the central square, a colossal hall would be built, and topped with a single cloud-piercing tower. A tower so tall, it would touch the very heart of the heavens. After much planning, and with the help of the Longbeards, they set about their monumental task.
This displeased the gods.
Weeks became months, and months became years, and still the manlings built. Men grew old and gray working on that great temple, their sons continuing their work through summer sun and winter rain. At last, after many generations, work began on the great spire itself. Years passed, and the tower reached such a height that the manlings found it ever more difficult to take the stone up to the top. Eventually, the work slowed to a crawl, and finishing the tower seemed impossible. Then one came among the men of the city, who offered his help in their great scheme. He asked a single boon of them in return, and claimed that if they grant him this, he would complete the tower in a single night.
It sounds too good to be true.
The manlings said to themselves, "What have we to lose?"
Everything.
And offered to make a bargain with the gray-clad stranger.
Okay, person we've never
All
met
he
before.
wished was to add his own dedication to the gods onto the temple's structure. The manlings agreed, and the bargain was struck. At dusk, the stranger entered the unfinished temple and bade the manlings to return at midnight. Clouds swept over the moons, cloaking the temple in darkness as the manlings left. All over the city, men watched and waited as the hours slipped past, until, near midnight, by ones and twos, they gathered again in the temple square. The wind blew, and the clouds parted as they gazed up at the temple. It rose like an unbroken lance against the sky, pure and white. At its very peak, a great horned bell hung gleaming coldly in the moonlight. The stranger's dedication to the gods was there, but of the stranger himself, there was no sign.
Oh, and he carved some ruins in it.
The manlings rejoiced that their father's work was done. They surged forward to enter the temple. Then, at the stroke of midnight, the great bell began to toll. Once.
13 times, right?
Twice. Thrice. Slow, heavy waves of sound rolled across the city. 4. 5.
Ooh.
6 times the bell rang, like the torpid pulse of a bronze giant.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
7. 8. 9. The rolling of the bell grew louder with each ring, and the manlings staggered back from the temple steps, clutching their ears. 10. 11. 12. 13.
Death.
At the 13th stroke, lightning split the skies and thunder echoes through the night. High above, the dark circle of Moor's light was lit by a bright flash, and all fell ominously silent. The manlings fled to their beds, frightened and puzzled by the portents they had seen. Next morning they arose to find that the darkness had come to their city. Brooding storm clouds reared above the rooftops, and such rain fell as had never been seen before. Black, like ash. The rain fell and puddled in the streets, slicking the cobbles with darkly iridescent colors. At first, some of the manlings didn't worry. They waited for the rain to stop so that they might resume their work. But the rain did not stop. The winds blew stronger, and lightning shook the high tower. Days stretched into weeks, and still the rain did not stop. Each night the bell tolled 13 times. In each morning the darkness lay across the city. The manlings became fearful and prayed to their gods.
I can't help you now.
Still, the rains did not stop, and the black clouds hung like a shroud over the fields of flattened corn.
Oh, man.
The manlings went to the dwarves and beseeched their help. The Longbeards were unconcerned. What mattered a little rain on the surface? In the bosom of the earth, all was warm and dry. Now the manlings huddled in their dwelling, fear gnawing at their hearts. They sent some of the number to faraway places to seek help, but none of them returned. Some went to the temple to pray and sacrifice their dwindling food to the gods, but they found the temple door closed to them. The rain grew heavier. Dark hailstones fell from the sky and crushed the sodden crops. The great bell tolled a death knell over the terrified city. Soon great stones cleft the heavens, rushing down like dark meteors to smash the homes of the manlings. Many sickened and died from no apparent cause, and the newborn babies of the manlings were hideously twisted. Skulking vermin devoured what little stored corn there was left, and the manlings began to starve. The manling elders went to see the dwarves again, and this time demanded their help. They wanted to bring their folk below ground to safety. They wanted food. The Longbeards grew angry and told the manlings that the lower workings were flooded, and their food had also been devoured by rats. There remained barely enough food and shelter for them and their kinsmen.
You should have helped
They
earlier.
cast the manlings out of their halls and closed their doors once more.
It didn't affect you, so you didn't care.
In the ruins of the city above, each day became more deadly than the last. The manlings despaired and called for succor from the dark gods, whispered the names of forgotten demon princes in the hope of salvation. But none came.
Damn, not even the Chaos Gods want anything to do with them.
Instead, the vermin returned, bigger and bolder than ever. Their slinking furred shapes infested the broken city, feasting on the fallen and pulling down the weak. Each midnight the bell tolled 13 times on high, seeming now brazen and triumphant. The manlings lived as hunted creatures in their own city, as great rat packs roamed the streets in search of them. At last, the desperate manlings took up such weapons as they had and beat upon the dwarves' door, threatening that if they did not emerge, they would drag them out by their beards.
Dwarves are already dead.
No reply came from within. The manlings took up beams and battered down the doors to reveal the tunnels below. Dark and empty.
Attacked on all fronts.
Stealing themselves, the pitiful remnants of the city's once proud populace descended. In the ancient hall of kingship, they found the dwarves. Now naught but gnawed bones and scraps of cloth. And there they saw by the dying light of their torches the myriad of eyes about them.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's...
Glittering like liquid midnight
Ooh, I like that.
as the
Glittering like
rats
liquid
closed
midnight.
in for the kill.
Yeah.
The manlings stood back to back and fought for their lives. But against such implacable ferocity and countless numbers of the verminous horde,
Just a little
their
chance.
weapons were useless.
What about the sound?
The tide of monstrous rats flowed over them one by one, dragging them down to be torn apart. The
Oh!
yellow chiseled teeth sinking into their soft flesh.
From Nurgle.
The dark tufted mass drowning their pitiful screams with their hideous chittering.
The curse of fortune.
Tilean chat.
Since their inception, hundreds of years ago, the Skaven race has proven to be one of the most dangerous threats to the Warhammer world. It is an ever-growing menace that schemes and plots the downfall of humanity. When emerging from their lairs to the field of battle, they are a deadly horde of unimaginably vast numbers that blends destructive war machines with dark magic.
We will give them battle. Yes.
It was like flying harpies.
I swear it looked like somebody was riding a dragon. Or not dragon, a dinosaur.
No. Nice. Oh!
Oh, man. Purple guys are just getting on both sides.
Yep. Oh, he's just exploding left and right. Slash warriors. Ooh. Hydra.
That looks like something out of Monster Hunter.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, the belt holes.
Mm. Just absolute chaos. Oh no! What's that purple shit thing?
I don't think it's good.
Run away! Is that a dinosaur, like little like raptor armor?
Yeah. Get him with your tail.
Think it's gonna die.
Yeah, it's getting really stabbed.
Yeah.
The verminous hordes move at speeds that belies their staggering size. They seem to flow in endless waves of chittering ratmen, and when the battle is over, they disappear like floodwaters, draining in countless unseen holes, leaving little to no trace of their existence, save only smoking ruins and scoured lands. Even as we speak, they wait in the dark beneath us, ever watching with beady eyes for the right moment to strike.
Nice ending on the bell.
On this channel, we are putting together narrative Total War cinematic battles and Warhammer lore videos. A special thank you goes to our Patreon supporters who help us in the making of more content. You can also directly support the channel through Patreon. Find the link in the
All
description
tunnels
below.
lead to Skaven's Light.
Wow, that was really cool. I enjoyed that. I liked the style that he told it in. I mean, it almost felt like we're listening to like I don't know, like Charles Dickens, like as it, it explains Total War Warhammer or something. What'd you think?
I very much enjoyed it. I thought they did a great job capturing the feel of this like scary tale. Like it definitely gave me some serious like not turning in the stomach type of feelings for these people who we all know they're gonna die.
A horrible death, probably too.
Horrible death. I was just kind of amazed by the hubris of men.
And the dwarves.
Well, yeah, but the point I'm making is going to be about the men, which you would know if you just let me. Because specifically, like, they've toiled on this tower for decades. It's been one generation's died, the next generation's taken up the mantle. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. It means a lot to them. Here comes this stranger, no man from nowhere, who's like, hey, I'll finish it for you. And in one night, like, mind you, you haven't been able to do it for decades, but I'm going to do it in one night. All I need is to make my own mark to the gods on your tower to the gods. And just the arrogance that his message would be a positive one, that his message would go to the same gods that they are dedicating this tower to. I mean, it just, the arrogance or the ignorance or both of not ever entertaining the thought that this guy's goals might not be altruistic, that his religious practices might differ from theirs. It was astounding to me for how much this meant to them and for how long they worked on it, that they would lose it all over something so easy to avoid if they just had an open mind about other people, recognizing they come from other places, and like maybe keep this project in-house.
There are no shortcuts in life, all right? That's what happens when you take shortcuts. You get the Skaven descending upon you.
I'm also curious who this guy was. Like, he was a man. He wasn't a rat. So how did he get looped in with the Skaven and sort of working for them? And like, I'm kind of really curious about this guy's backstory.
Maybe it was a Skaven wearing a man's
like skin. A man suit?
Yeah, like a man suit.
Maybe. Like a Men in Black moment?
Yeah, or it's just, you know, someone that just is, wants to, you know, because there are people like that like will worship, I don't know, for the destruction of the world or whatever. Like, you know,
the little fingers of the world who want to be king of the ashes.
Yeah.
As long as they can be king.
Or they're just like, you know, it's like, okay, well, I'll work for the Skaven, and, you know, then I will be rewarded once they take over the world, like, you know, like they should or whatever. And like those people usually end up dying. Horrible deaths as well. And the dwarves, you know, it's like, oh, we don't care about the rain and the flooding and everything like that. It doesn't affect us. So, you know, that's your problem, not our problem. We're fine down here. And then, you know, just, I mean, again, just can't just turn a blind eye to something that just doesn't affect you. You know, like people, like that's a total lack of empathy there for the dwarves. And that just also leads to ruin and destruction.
Well, it's that famous poem, which I'm going to butcher the name of the person who wrote it and the title, so I'm not even going to try. I should know, and I can't think of it at the moment. First they came for, and I did nothing because they didn't come to me. And then and like fill in the blank with whatever you want, because that moment in history constantly is repeating itself. It's evil is granted the power to grow because of the good people who are like, well, it doesn't affect me. It's not my problem. I can turn the other cheek. Sorry, you can't. Like, whoops, bad for you, but I'm fine. And like, that is always what then allows the evil in the world to grow, until it takes everybody coming together to be like, no, we are all affected. Like, wouldn't it be so much easier if we didn't have to get to that point? Like, think of the lives saved and the heartbreaks that could have been prevented if like people had just recognized, hey, that person's a person just like me. Maybe I should help them like I would want to be helped.
And that wasn't just the narration that I really enjoyed for this. I was also like the choice of what images to use. I mean, he said that they were using different things from the games and whatnot, and different artwork. But like the choice of where to use it and how to use it, I thought was really good. It was really on point. And
just the language. I mean, it was masterfully done. I mean, what was that line? Glittering like liquid midnight?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a great line.
It is a great line. That's why I said, like, it felt like, you know, someone was reading like a Dickens novel. Those just about Warhammer, Total War Warhammer. So yeah, definitely want to check out more from this channel. I was really impressed by it. And also like how it was, you know, as if we were in this world and they were telling this story, you know, like as a, you know, another tale that they were telling to us. In fact, instead of just like, you know, explaining how the Skaven are like in the game Total War Warhammer, it's like, no, this isn't a game, this is real life.
I mean, I definitely felt like this could be the story that like you hear told around a campfire on a dark night around like Halloween, like the story of the Skavens and like the legend of the Tower of Man that fell. Yeah. I'm also constantly impressed by the level of talent in all kinds of talents that are brought to the Warhammer universe. This community is huge and vast and just, I mean, we've checked out some things that are so smart, so creative, from the artwork to the language. I mean, it is very impressive. I was curious who the race was, or the faction was that knew about the Skaven and had dealt with the Skaven, like, and didn't ignore them and like didn't claim that they didn't exist, like mankind did. It was like the Tilean or whatever, because like he talked about them, but I never actually saw who they were.
what they looked like, and I don't remember them from any of the other like sort of like faction things that we've watched in Total War Warhammer. So I'd be curious to learn more about them as well. And you'll have to let us know what you thought about this down below in the comments. And if you want more of our Total War Warhammer reactions, go ahead and check out the description of this video. We got a playlist there for you. Thanks so much for checking out our reaction for Total War Warhammer, The Origins of the Skaven by Book of Troyer, but just keep in mind
that our reaction is definitely not definitive.